Hello, and welcome to the Answers Project. This segment's theme is Techno-Logical. Here we have Tanner Byrne, Keegan Sobel, Timothy Maggio, Peyton Johnson, Justin Johnson,
Riley Noah,
and finally Hunter Zilke. First we have Tanner Byrne. Tanner's question is, how could Minecraft be useful in schools? The first question is, why are you interested in Minecraft?
I am interested because my favorite YouTubers play the game Minecraft.
Alright, and because you want to see it used in schools, what's one way that Minecraft is valuable to education?
Well, one way that Minecraft is valuable in schools is that it motivates students.
Motivation is a very important part of learning. Next, how do you think that Minecraft could be used in class?
Well, in Com Arts, you can write in a book and quill for all your information, like as a notebook.
Good to hear that it can be used across classes. Well, what grade levels can use Minecraft as a teaching tool?
Well, all the grade levels can use.
It's good to hear that it can be used across all grades as well as all classes. I heard that you interviewed an expert, and his name was Dr. Andrew Williams. What did you learn from him?
Well, that Minecraft EDU can help learn while having fun.
How would you like to see Minecraft be used in your school?
Well, I would like to see students having fun while learning.
That is good to hear. Now that we have some information on how Minecraft might be useful in schools, we must ask, how does it affect brains as a whole? Next we have Keegan Sable with the answers to that. Here we have Keegan Sable. His question is, how do video games affect the brain? So, how do you think that video games would affect the brain?
I think that nothing will happen to me when I play video games all day long.
So, in your research, have you found that that's true? Say, maybe it would affect long-term goals?
Yes, video games have been proven to help kids and teens with long-term goals in life like solving puzzles and building up strength.
That's good to hear. So, would they affect teenagers?
Yes, according to game theory, studies show, for example, playing action games enhances visual capabilities such as tracking, multiply objects, and mentally rotating things.
So you're saying that video games can help teens learn to focus better?
Yes, individuals who play action games perform better than those who do not.
So, how do you think that video games could help teens in the real world?
Video games can help teens in the real world, for example, can help build physical stamina, strength, and range of motion.
So do you think that video games will be able to educate kids and teens?
Yes, video games can help the brain educate the brains of kids and teens. Thank you.
Alright, thank you for your time. Now that we have an idea of what video games do to brains, we must have the idea of what do they do to children's lives overall. We have Timothy Maggio with that. Here we have Timothy Maggio with the answers to how do video games affect children's lives.
I'm interested in this topic because I've always wanted to prove people wrong about video games being negative.
Alright, so if you think that video games are positive for children's lives, what is one piece of evidence for that you found?
Well, according to e-learning infographic, and video games can be good for kids. It says that children who play video games are 25% faster at working than non-gamers.
Are there any other benefits?
Yes. According to Peter Gray in Cognitive Benefits of Playing Video Games, says that playing video games improve multitasking, mental flexibility, and getting things done faster.
So you're saying that they would help things get done faster. Would that perhaps include learning?
Yes, Jane McDonald in How Might Video Games Be Good for Us says that video games grow more creativity, which helps with solving problems.
What do parents have to say about video games?
Well, according to Dr. Horn, video games teach positive things such as patience, Also, video games do not teach you how to kill. Parents misunderstand video games.
So what are your final thoughts on playing video games?
Well, there's many answers to this question, but ultimately, video games help with hand-eye coordination, which is good for physical fitness and sports.
Good hand-eye coordination and how video games can change lives. Here's Peyton Johnson with Who is the Best Gamer in the World?
Thank you for having me, and I have a little fact that many people probably don't know. 59% of the American population is considered a gamer.
That is very interesting. But even though a lot of people are gamers, not that many are very good. So, is it really true that professional gamers can become millionaires?
Yes, that is true, and I found this on the top 10 paid pro gamers in the world. And one player has played so many games and championships that he's won over $18 million from just a couple tournaments.
So at first it was all about money, but what do you think it's about now?
Well, now it's more about how you have to have the time to play your games, and you have to have patience, because if you just say, oh, I'm done with this, then you're not going to get good at it. So you have to have a lot of time and patience.
All right. Does overall popularity affect anything?
Yeah, because normally if you're popular, you've done something to earn people's respect, such as getting a clutch win for your team to win the tournament or a playoff spot or anything. And normally, if you're popular, people might donate money to you sometimes if you need some, and that's something that can help.
So I heard you have an expert's opinion. May we hear a little about it?
Yeah, I spoke to a man named Jalen Block, and he plays games quite a bit, and he told me what I said before, that you need a lot of time and you have to have a lot of patience so you can get good at a game. And he said that if you don't take the time to play your games and get good at it, there's no way you're gonna become a pro gamer and make money.
So now that we have an expert's opinion, what is your personal opinion?
My personal opinion is that you have to be really good, and I think such a person is Optic Stump, because he's really good, and he does a lot of good stuff for his team, such as getting clutch plays, like I said before, and he's gone to a lot of tournaments and playoffs, and he's really good.
All right, thank you for your time. On the opposite end of the spectrum of how video games can change lives, we have Justin Johnson with the question, do video games cause violence? Here we have Justin Johnson with the question of, do video games cause violence? What is the first resource that you found about this topic?
My first resource is from this guy named Brandon Keem. He researched the other guy, Adam Lanza, who's a guy who killed 26 people in Newton, Connecticut for absolutely no reason, but the reason they think why is because he was an avid Call of Duty player.
So, now that we have an idea of why people might think this, what is your second resource on the topic?
Second resource. This was the one about the girl I mentioned earlier by mistake, Kelly. She researched about an organization named the APA, which I don't know what it stands for. Says there isn't enough research about the topic that video games cause enough violence. They have had 20 years of research, but still don't know what the answer is.
So do you have a third, a little more conclusive source?
My third reason, just do that. Same as my first one, why they do cause violence. If so, the reason is the influence in age.
That is a fair point, that younger children are a lot more vulnerable to suggestion. So, Do you have a professional who has an opinion about this?
Yes, and he is relatable to my second resource. He also says there's not enough research to tell if they cause violence.
So, as we think that the research is inconclusive, may we have your opinion?
My opinion is no, because, again, there isn't enough research to prove yes, after all I've seen.
Alright, thank you for your time. And now we go from what games can do to how they're made with Riley Knorr and the question of what is the most useful coding language?
And here's Riley Knorr with the question of what is the best coding language? Why are you interested in coding?
Well, you see, it all started last year in business ed, where our teacher, Miss Laura Scott, kind of got us introduced to coding by showing us this website called Code Combat. I kind of excelled at it a little more with my classmates, so I went around helping them, and I had a good time, and everyone else had a pretty good time too. And then after seeing that it only taught about like 3 languages in the game, I started wondering which one out of all the coding language is the most useful. There are some that are more specified for work, like SQL, which is for databases. There are some more specified for like general purpose, like C++ or Python. Python is one of the easiest, for sure. So that's my personal choice.
Starting easy does sound good, but what if I get confident and want to be a professional?
Well, you see, then there's stuff like SQL, spelled SQL, which is made for creating, managing, and searching through databases. So it's really popular with big companies who have a lot of data to manage. Of course, again, there's Python, which can create games and runs companies such as Google, so it's another big industrial use. And then there's Ruby, again, simple stuff, but can be used to create huge web pages, and then, again, big companies use it, like Pinterest, Hulu, Amazon, I believe. But if you want to get like a little more selective, then there's like C++, which is a general purpose language which can be used to make a lot, like databases again, games, all sorts of websites, and other general use things.
This sounds great coming from a student, but can we bring in an expert?
No. I did interview one though, and what she said, she being Miss Laura Scott, the very teacher who got me interested in coding in the first place, she says that it's HTML, because HTML also creates a web page, and it's an easy thing that most people can learn. She says that HTML is the most useful because anything else that you could make with other coding languages goes inside that HTML web page to be distributed. So unless if you have tons and tons of flash drives, or you just want to use the program yourself, you need a web page to share it.
What's your opinion?
Like I keep saying, I think it all goes back down to Python because it's so simple but can do so much. Like I said, it can do math, it can make games, it can make huge companies run like Google. It's overall really useful and easy enough for me to learn. Now we go from what runs on computers to what makes computers run, with the question, what makes a computer great, with Hunter Zilke. Computers really have come a long way, haven't they?
They sure have. A long time ago, well, not a real long time ago, but in the 60s and 70s, the computers were really big. They had tubes, which had electrons flow through them and get the computer electricity throughout the entire system, which made it really big and bulky. But now we have transistors, which are pretty small, like really thin, about like this. And as you can see in our background, the computers are pretty small. And we have laptops now, which are even thinner than that, probably a fourth of the size of that. And yeah, and Fallout 4, which is a game I really enjoy, they never made the transistor. And it's set in the future, but the culture is set in the 60s and 70s. So back then, they didn't have the transistors, so everything carried on as it would have if they weren't made.
So now that we've been talking about computer components, what do you think is a part of a computer that really does make it great?
I would say the video card. If you have a great video card in a computer, everything will look greater. And if you're playing a game and you really don't like it, it might be because of the graphics or the game just isn't good. If you have bad graphics and the game is good, you might want to play it, but the graphics just throw everything off and you get disinterested in it. If you have a great video card, you will be more immersed in the game and feel like you're actually in it.
Though graphics are very important, I believe that there's another important part of the computer.
Oh yes, I almost forgot, RAM. RAM stands for Random Access Memory and is used when you have a whole bunch of tabs open on a computer, and that's what the computer pulls out to run all that with consistency.
So now that we're talking about computer parts, I do have to wonder, are computers and consoles around the same?
They sure are. Computers and consoles both have a GPU and CPU, which runs the entire system, and even though the consoles may have some tweaks to the GPU and CPU, they're very much alike.
Alright, and all the other guests did have experts, so do you too?
I did, and I interviewed a lady named Jennifer Delzer. She brought up a real good point to me. She said that, well, first off, the question I asked was, what type of gaming runs best on a computer? And she said it's not what type of gaming, it's the type of money you put into it. If you want to run really big games, you're going to want to put a lot in the CPU, because that's what makes the computer run fast. And if you want just little games on some websites, you don't really need to put that much money in it. But if you do want to run big games, you're going to put more money in the CPU, which will allow it to run faster.
So what do you personally think is the most important part of a computer?
I would say the GPU, because the GPU is extremely powerful, and even though you need the CPU, if you just had a GPU in the computer, it would still be able to run just normally, but at a slower pace.
Alright, thank you for your time. And that is all that we have for today. This was Techno-Logical for the Answers Project. Thank you for watching. See you again.